Welcome back to a Football Friday. By the way, our sports updates are brought to you by Heavy Gym. Every rep, every set, every drop of sweat, it's all part of the journey to becoming unstoppable. Join the movement today at Heavy Gym. Check them out at heavygym.ca. Happy 4th of July, Coach Barker, and to our U.S. friends and viewers. You're still a U.S. citizen. You always will be, right?
Yes, I will. Always will be. And I'll never forget my first 4th of July up here in Canada. I was coaching with the Alouettes in 96. You check the weather report. We went to Edmonton to play on 4th of July, and everybody at home is in the pool, and we had snow in Edmonton on the 4th of July. I thought, wow, I really am where the Eskimos are.
You're
At
like, what
that
did I
point, they
do?
were the Eskimos.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, well, and you spent so many years in Calgary. I want to know your take on this Stampede Bowl and what you know, because what I know of the Stampeders, George Cortez always told me, he's like, Rod, we'll never play during Stampede. All of a sudden they are. So something changed. What do you think? What do you know about why they didn't all those years?
Well, the same thing as you. I went to George also and said, how come we don't play? Because everybody during Stampede is sky high. I mean, it just is. It's that type of thing. When I was hired as the coach, I was in the parade and that type of thing. And there's just wearing the white hat, and there's just something about the whole atmosphere of that city when they're all wearing their jeans and their boots. I mean, you go to Alberta Boot to get your boots to wear that one week. And the enthusiasm in the city, just you feel it everywhere. And again, to see 22,000 people in the stands after what we saw the week before in the sleet and the sideways rain, it was it was like a blessing. It was so great to see people having a great time. They had some great things going on. Brett Michaels, and that to me is what Calgary's about. I wish they would have done it back then. It just didn't make sense to me, except that the Stampede is sacred in Calgary. It really is. It's such a I never go to that kind of thing. I just don't. But the Stampede, I went every year just to go and to wear the boots and wear the hat, and you're a cowboy. You're a real cowboy for a week, even if you're a kid from LA. So yeah, no, I thought it was great they did it. Don't know why, but again, never questioned it.
I can only say one thing before we talk about the game. You know that I was raised in that world. And I'm watching the game last night. I'm seeing so many people on the sidelines or in the crowd with their cowboy hats on backwards. And I'm just like, God. Friends don't let friends wear cowboy hats backwards. If you see
I
somebody, Calgary, wearing a hat back, can you tell them, for God's sake, they're embarrassing themselves. Okay.
completely agree with you.
Oh, it's bad. Okay. Don't be polite. That's not the time to be polite. Okay. Wasn't much of a game though.
No, it was from the get go. Winnipeg goes on a bye next week, and you hate to say they were looking past this to a bye, and they just lost to Ottawa, who again just hasn't looked real good, and that's the game that they come off of to play Winnipeg, and it just looked to me like Winnipeg came in and overlooked them, and before they knew it, they couldn't get out of it, and when Zach threw that pick six, the first one you just got this sinking feeling like, wow, they're never going to come back. And they didn't. They didn't even scare it. When Winnipeg gets behind, they can't do what they do. They can't play bully ball anymore because bullies don't get beat up that bad. They were down, what? It was 29-3 at the half. And it's hard to, or 29-6. It's hard to get into what you want to do when you're down that much. So it was a tough day for Zach. It was just I thought their entire football team got outplayed in every facet. I thought Calgary was more physical. Calgary played faster. Calgary came like they'd been on a bye, which they had. And Winnipeg played like a team who's getting ready. Those guys were all thinking about, am I going to the lake? Am I going to the beach? Where am I going on my break? Because that starts today for them. So it was kind of a classic game of that, and I felt it in the when that first interception that made it 14 to 3. I thought, wow, this could be a long one for him, and it was.
So if you're Mike O'Shea, you've absorbed big bad losses with good teams. How do you move forward after that?
You put the film on just to look at a few things. Probably the coordinators won't even want to watch the film because there's really nothing you're going to learn from that. I mean, what it showed to me was they got some problems in their receiving core. They really, I thought what Calgary did to them, where they played that kind of a mushy zone defense, played deep, didn't give them any big plays. You never saw Dembski up a seam. You never saw any seam throws to Schoen, any of those things that they normally do. Everything they did was throwing out cuts and throwing things in between this mushy zone, and they were coming up, and Calgary tackled outstanding. So it was just I thought Bob Slowick did a great job on the game plan, and he has those guys playing the way he wants them, and they'll gain some great confidence from that football game. I thought their front did a great job. Again, they have the best pass rusher in the CFL in Flo Rimolade, so he's going to be back there every snap. He just is. He's nearly unblockable, and when he's in the game, you feel his presence all the time. And I felt like Zach could never get in a rhythm. I thought they were overhauled up front and on both sides of the ball, and you're not going to win games when you do that, especially when you're Winnipeg and that's your calling card.
Kirk from Toronto writes in. He's watching on Game Plus TV. He says, "Hi, Rod. I'll be watching the game tonight from beautiful Madawaska Valley. I'll be watching the Battle of 1873 tonight from God's country. Go Scullers." We got to give some props to the Argos and Ticats. That's special, and that's going on at BMO Field tonight.
Yeah, it's a huge game because both of these teams are 1-3, and Hamilton comes out of the game playing Ottawa twice, but Toronto comes out of the game and out of this game, and if they don't win it, they now have Winnipeg and Saskatchewan coming up here in the next few weeks. Chad Kelly hopefully is back. They're saying maybe now game 7, but again, they need him badly. I mean, people forget they're playing with their backup quarterback. Arbuckle won the MVP in the Grey Cup, and people sometimes think of him like they're playing with a starting quarterback, but they're not. They're playing with a backup quarterback, and we saw what that did to the Montreal Alouettes last week with McLeod Bethel Thompson. I mean, it was truly a different team completely. And that's what I think is happening with Toronto. They are a different team than they will be when they get Chad Kelly back. Just so many things that they do that they can't do without him as their quarterback, both sides of the ball. And I just believe they'll be a different team if he comes back 100%. So this game tonight is monster because you got a Hamilton team who's coming off a huge win against Montreal that hopefully they can build on. And you're playing basically a wounded Toronto team. Their best defensive player, McManus, out. Their running backs, gone. They're going to be playing Kevin Brown, who they had cut. They brought him back. And then Kalen Laybourne that they had cut 2 years ago and brought back this week because Mayan Williams got hurt. So they're playing with basically no running back. The way they won the game, God bless Sluka, Division III player from Ithaca College, set a record like that in the CFL, probably never be broken. To have a defensive touchdown over 100, have a special teams touchdown over 100, it's a great story. But you're not going to win games banking on that happening very often. So, it's an intriguing game tonight, but they're playing a wounded warrior when they come out tonight. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are close to full strength. They have all the people they feel like they need. They've moved Verasek into starting middle linebacker, and I think that made them much better on defense. It just is a game that Hamilton needs to go in to it. It's a tough place for them to play, but they need to go in there and win. And back in 2019, when I was in Hamilton, we came in there and, I mean, I think we scored 65 points. I mean, it was a throttling. And now, are they going to do that? Absolutely not. But that's the kind of game that Hamilton should come in and be able to play a good, solid game and win the game. If they lose this one, I think they got big problems down the road, because I think that Toronto is a wounded warrior right now, and they're going to get nothing but better here in about 2 weeks. And if you keep them and allow them to stay close, they're going to end up biting you in the end.
Yeah, I've got the Argos picked to win. They're my number 2 favorite team of all time, since I was a little kid. Riders number 1, of course. And I'm going to get to the Riders in a sec. But people are asking about Nathan Rourke. And I got this roster from the Lions here. He's listed as the starter at Montreal Saturday. Do you know anything about his status?
Well, his status is he's going to start.
Okay.
It sounds like Drew Brown is going to also start for Ottawa. The problem with Rourke's injury, it's a core injury. So that, it's something in his abdominals. And when you're trying to throw, or imagine if you play golf, hitting a golf ball with that muscle being tender. I mean, that's a tough one. So it's going to be interesting to see how Nathan plays. I mean, they need him badly. Obviously, they haven't been able to win a game without him. And, it's one of those things that you lose your starter, you want to think you have a chance to win, but they haven't shown that they can. So it's going to be interesting to watch how he throws. He'll have that real padded up, but that's a tough injury for a quarterback. And then Drew Brown with Ottawa, they got one win with Dustin Crum, but they're not going to win a lot of games without Drew Brown. And Drew Brown's injury, was a hip. And we'll see how it is when he comes back. And he practiced full out yesterday, was limited day 1. So they play in Edmonton this week. And, you talk about, you were talking about Joey Chestnut. Do you know the over-under on hot dogs for that was 71? That was the over-under. And he ate, 70 and a half? That's why if you think you're going to beat these odds makers, you aren't. Who could have known that he would eat that many hot dogs?
You couldn't stuff down that extra half. Oh, my God. Simon writes in. Simon says, as a Lions fan, we don't use the lack of our starting quarterback as an excuse for losing. Rather, there is optimism that the team will turn it around when he's back. Lions season is dependent on Rourke's health. Yeah, well, there you go. But as Jim Barker says, he'll play tomorrow. Jeff, the Stampeders fan, says, telling Calgarians how to wear cowboy hats is like me telling a Dutch how to wear wooden shoes. Well, I'll tell you what. Keep wearing them backwards then. You look like an idiot. So last night, I happened to share time with Larry Mueller. I'm not sure if I'm bragging or complaining. But he was talking about his son, Mark, and how he was going back watching old CFL games on YouTube to look at plays and what was being done in this particular decade, and those rules still apply. And I laughed because I'm like, that's Mark. That's why he's the best in the business. That's why you're never going to stop that kid. And I'm not going to out what year it was to help the defensive coordinators out there. The reason I bring this all up is John Ohm in Winnipeg says, the Riders are 4-0. He goes, I know a coach that's 4-0. Corey Mace are the only unbeaten team. Mark Mueller is a big part of that, and Coach Mace would tell you that, wouldn't he?
No, there's no doubt. When Mark Mueller worked out at the Combine, I told him, I said, you know what? You're a great kid. You learn I said, but I will never draft you as a quarterback. But I can tell you this: there's going to come a day when I would hire you as a head coach, because you have everything that it takes to be a coach, and he's proven that. I know that. Just listening to Ryan Dinwiddie talk, I've never gotten a chance to coach with Mark, but just spectacular. I mean, I think again, how is he going to be as a head coach? Some guys are good at that move. I wasn't. I was much happier and better as an offensive coordinator than I was as a head coach. It just wasn't my thing, being a head coach. What will that be for Mark? I don't know. We're going to find out, because he's going to have a chance, because he's got a knowledge of the game and a way of communicating with players that's rare. And when you can put those things together, like I say, I used to meet with his grandfather when I first got the head job here in Toronto. we'd meet once a month, and Ron was just the best in terms of that. So just having been around Ron Lancaster as a kid, you got to know Mark Mueller's going to be good. He's going to be special, and he's proven to be that. And I think he has everything. I mean, Corey Mace has done a great job. That defense is fantastic. But Mark Mueller has gotten Trevor Harris basically playing as well as Trevor Harris can play at 39 years old, in my view. And Trevor Harris brought him in the league back in 2012 in Toronto. I've seen him through all of his things through Ottawa, and he's playing right now the way a solid 39-year-old veteran should. He's getting enough chances to make big plays and able to do it. And he's also got, not making the huge mistakes that he's been known to make. And I credit Mark Mueller for that. So I'm with you 100% on the Mark Mueller bandwagon.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to be head coach. It's coming. I don't know when. We don't have a ton of time left, but there is a big game in Edmonton on Sunday. You mentioned Drew Brown starting for the Red Blacks. That's not good news for the Elks, who go after their first win. How do you see that thing playing out?
Well, the Elks are getting better and better and better. And Drew Brown, he was limited one day, then he goes full. How is he going to be? I think Ottawa's offensive line is pathetic. I've said it from day one that they can't win with that group. They're struggling. They bring William Stan back in, but that's not the answer. They lost that game to Toronto. Probably should have won. The 2 long touchdowns, but they didn't at home. And I worry a lot about that Ottawa team. But we go back to Joey Chestnut, which is what I look at the spread, and they're favored by 2.5 points in Edmonton. And that's kind of surprising to me because Edmonton has been getting better and better. They have nobody hurt. They're, I don't know, you can just kind of see things coming together for them. Again, the thing is Trey Ford. When is Trey Ford going to take that step and be able to make the plays without the big bad plays? And you don't know how long it's going to. It may take a full year of a lot of heartache for Edmonton. But again, they have Ottawa as the favorite. That's one I would say Edmonton would be a 2-point favorite. But actually, Ottawa's a 2-point favorite. Again, I wouldn't want to lay points if I had Ottawa on the road against anybody. And I do believe this Edmonton defense is playing better. I think J.C. Sherritt is learning on the way. I think he's, again, we talked about Mark Mueller. J.C. Sherritt is he's in his first year as a coordinator, so he's learning. So anyway, I think it's going to be a real intriguing game. I do believe Edmonton's going to win in Edmonton. I just think they're close. They're close, and I think this is the team that they can do it against.
Well, I got Edmonton picked to win as well. I know for a fact I'll be watching. I can't wait. I do love the 4 games in 4 days. I know for whatever reason other people do not, but I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. I can find 3 hours out of each day to watch CFL football. I can't find 6. Okay, Jim.
Doubleheaders are tough. That's my time.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.
We'll be coming right back after this. Nice timing, boys. Well done. All your comments the rest of the way, and viewer takeover after this.